Hello students and welcome back. This presentation we are going to be talking about raceways. In section 12 on page 139, section 12-900 raceways. So first of all, what I thought I would do is take you on a tour around some of the labs here at BCIT. And before we get into the general section of raceways, I thought I would show you the different types and how they relate to different applications around here in the building. So if you take a look on page 139 and page 2 of your electrical code book, you can see that we have many different types of raceways. We have rigid and flexible metal conduit, rigid PVC conduit, types EB and DB2 ESC PVC conduit, rigid RT/RC conduit, all the way down to electrical metallic tubing, raceways, cellular floors, auxiliary gutters, and boy, all the way down to cable tray. So there's a lot here on raceways. Now, for you third and fourth year students, I'm sure you've seen lots of electrical metallic tubing. I'm sure you've seen lots of rigid PVC conduit or DB2 conduit. But for the foundations, first and second year, likely not so much. So a little bit about conduit. There is a big difference between threaded rigid conduit and electrical metallic tubing. There is a big difference between DB2 and rigid PVC conduit. For those of you that are not familiar with DB2 conduit, it stands for direct burial. It's meant to be installed underground and is not intended to come up above ground. So for example, those of you that do a lot of building of electrical services in brand new houses or apartment buildings, you'll use a lot of DB2 conduit on the outside of the building, but then once you stub up into the main part of the building, you have to transition to rigid PVC conduit. Reason being is rigid PVC conduit has a thicker wall. And obviously DB stands for direct burial, so don't bring it up above ground, whatever you do. So, as you can see on the index on page 2, we have many different types of raceways, and what we're going to do now is take a walk through the lab and see what we got. So Larry, my lovely cameraman behind the scenes, he's doing a fantastic job. Thanks, Larry. He's going to follow us around, and I'm going to show you guys the different types of conduits. Come on, class, follow me. So these great students here, whoever they were, I'm sure you can tell your work, they've installed this 1/2-inch EMT conduit between the junction boxes and the fittings and junction boxes. So this is what electrical metallic tubing looks like. It's a thin wall conduit meant to be located on a surface. If you take a close look, for example, over here, these are dry type fittings. They're meant for dry locations only, not meant for outdoors. And obviously you terminate everything into junction boxes. All right, if you take a look, I'm probably going to lose a few things. If you happen to take a look a little closer down here, this conduit here, you notice how it has threads right here. That is rigid steel conduit. So rigid steel conduit is threaded. You would use that type of conduit, for example, if you are working in hazardous locations. Gas stations, oil and gas industry, anything where hazardous locations are present. It is an excellent raceway used for keeping gases and vapors out. So who's ever done that has done a very good job. Now, what else have we got here? Raceways. So we've got EMT conduit here, threaded rigid conduit there. If you take a look, for example, up here in the ceiling, we've got different sizes of EMT conduit. This big guy here looks like about a 3-inch, running from point A to point B through the building. We have what's called a rack built right here where we can install multiple runs of Raceway, whatever we want. We have, these are all different types of electrical metallic tubing, so they're a thin wall type pipe. Mainly used probably